Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Save Point Podcast. Here, I'm Josh.
I'm Alex.
And we are going to be talking about news today. There is many of it.
There's news in the gaming world?
Some people might say. The biggest piece of news, let's start at the top of everyone's Christmas list. Everybody's trying to become the Elden Lord. Freaking Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Literally, I'm pretty sure every friend I have right now, for the majority, has been playing this, and they are trying to get me to join their cult.
That's okay. We're on the same boat on this. I'm not a Dark Souls guy.
I'm not either.
And it's not.
I feel like we're about to be crucified on the internet. I'm not a Souls person.
And it's not because I'm a little baby gamer. Look, I'll own up to that. I am a little baby gamer. But the reason I don't like playing Dark Souls, I play video games to like get away from the stresses of my daily life. I don't need that added on top. The like resource management, stamina, fight a boss for 15 hours till you memorize everything.
For me, it's literally the time. I literally went over to a friend's house, watched him try to defeat a minor boss, which was this rot dragon, and it took him literally an hour and a half. And I was like, I don't want to commit my time to that.
That's, it's kind of the same reason I won't play like Monster Hunter, stuff like that. It's like, I'm going to go on one hunt in Monster Hunter, and then like 3 hours later, you're like, yeah, I beat one dragon and brought him back to my place. I'm like, bro, you got to like respect your time more, man. These companies are not respecting your time. You got to step in, man. But I've seen a ton of streams of Elden Ring. I've played some Demon Souls in my day. I get what's to like. I like open world Dark Souls. I think that appeals to a lot of people. Seeing it, watching it, I'm like, this looks like fun. It's not for me.
I'm the same way. I was really interested to go back and look at the beginnings of the Souls games. So I started off at Demon Souls. It sucked my soul dry. I was not a big fan of it. Went even further back. I magically found a copy of Shadow Tower, which is a very early Souls game, which is also incredibly ridiculously priced.
Yep.
I have just the game in like the manual right now, and I was looking at the price today, $270.
No, thank you.
I literally found it for $1 at a garage sale. It's insane that game even costs that much. But once again, it's the Souls craze. Everyone loves Souls games.
It's very true.
The creator, I forget what his name is, but he went...
Miyazaki?
Miyazaki, there we go. He went on the record this last Friday, which would be March 11th. And normally his take on stuff is get good.
That's what I was going to say. What was his take? Touch grass, get good? Something along those lines?
No, his take was surprisingly kind this time. Normally he's not kind to his like player base. But it was, this is a good entry point for Souls players. But you got to remember to take a deep breath, keep trying. It's about going back and learning the phrase. And I'm like, bro, you want this game to sell. That's what that is.
To walk away, take a sip of water, and hey slugger, we'll all get through this together.
Yeah, that was exactly what
one day you'll be the Elden Lord champ.
And I'm like, the corporate office looked at him and goes, sell this game.
It's like, we need you. Be nice. Be nice for once, please. Well, let's move on to something that I've also heard described as a Souls-like. Also, we didn't realize we did a minimal amount of research before this and watched some just probably the most insane trailers that have ever been released for a video game on the internet. We're going to talk about Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Which, for reference, if you're not familiar with the Final Fantasy lore and stuff, I definitely am not very well versed in early Final Fantasy, but we looked into this. You play as Jack in this one.
He's the antagonist of
the first game. He's the antagonist of the first game.
Maybe that'll be a spoiler. Who knows? At some point, he'll become the Elden Lord and he'll say, this is your Final Fantasy. And we'll be like, whoa, that's a reference, man.
In my head, Final Fantasy doesn't exist till about 6 in my brain. Before that's just kind of like old NES.
I've not played the ancient ones. I do have a bootleg copy of 5 on Advance, which is pretty good. It's probably the funniest bootleg I own, I think.
The crazy thing for me is like I own, I believe a majority of all the Final Fantasy games.
I have a lot of the
I just
later
don't go
ones.
back to
I have a
them.
lot of the special editions of the later. I've got like the Type Zero HD like special edition for PS4. I've got the 12 Steelbook. I've got a bunch of special editions, but I've only played, I think, the remake of 7. I played a decent amount of 15. I just started 13 recently. A lot of the later ones. I've not played a lot of those early ones.
I have a friend that is in love with 10. I
Mm.
think he's gone back and played it about 10, 12 times now.
Yeah.
I want to show him this trailer. Because we watched this trailer.
Okay, we watched multiple trailers. We watched many things about this game.
No. But we watched the trailer, which we looked, it was like January 24th of...
It's the 21st of this year.
21st of this year, there we go.
There's a point. Okay, so it's like, let's say it's like a 4-minute trailer. At about 3 minutes, they show, okay, so it's like a bunch of anime characters. And then there's this guy, Jack, and Jack is like, he sounds kind of like Steve Bloom. And so all these like anime characters are like, you'll feel my wrath. And then he's like, tell me about the crystals. He sounds like he should be like some kind of like...
Hand up, just kind of like, stop what you're saying.
He sounds like he should be like an FPS like protagonist, but instead they got him mixed up and they got the wrong guy in the booth for this one. So now he's the protagonist of this Final Fantasy, and every time he's like, we're gonna defeat chaos, and then everybody else is like, this lady's like, my name's Neon, and I'm like, how am I supposed to contrast like this super serious, like deadly serious guy with like kind of the like
cute anime girl.
Yeah, in some way like silliness of like this like anime game.
It's almost like whoever was in charge of like sound production and stuff was like watching early 2000 anime dubs. Who was like, that's what I want my game to sound like.
Okay, so you're 3 minutes into the trailer. Jack is walking through a field of freaking, amber waves of grain over here.
Yeah, wheat fields. It's as far as the eye can see.
It's like freaking Gladiator
it's
out here.
Like going into dusk. It's golden sky.
Exactly, it's a golden hour. He's walking through, and they start playing Frank Sinatra's "My Way." Just the most, he's like standing there walking through this field, and they're like, "I did it, my," and I'm like, "What is happening? This is a freaking Final Fantasy game." Am I going insane?
It's not even that. It's an early Final Fantasy game. We're not talking 7, 15. We're talking like right after 1. Yeah, so it's high fantasy.
Yeah, this is like a remake of like the early stuff. We're getting early Final Fantasy lore. Just like super bizarre. And then, okay, now I don't know, this is unconfirmed. We watched a piece of gameplay after this in which he walks away. He's got his Bluetooth freaking AirPods in, and he's listening to a freaking Limp Bizkit song.
There's like liches and witches and just any other like crazy high fantasy creature. Yeah. And then here he is with his Bluetooth headphones.
He's walking through these freaking dungeons like rolling. I'm like, what is happening, man? What happened? What happened to this Final Fantasy game? Somebody spilled the early 2000s in it. I don't know.
It was literally the early 2000s. The voice acting, the music. I mean, like, what happened?
I mentioned I read an article by Polygon. They had mentioned it's kind of Souls-like in a way, and then they proceeded to describe many things that I would not consider Souls-like. But I get the comparison. Essentially, you fight big bosses in this game. It is not like the old ones. It's not turn-based. It is not like Final Fantasy.
I mean, if we're talking, if you want to go back to Final Fantasy 1, I think that's great. They need a remake anyways.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Modern. It'd be awesome to get all those remade, absolutely.
But, I mean, like, going for the not turn-based strategy, or not even like Final Fantasy 7 remake where it's partial turn-based.
That's the issue. It's not even like 7 remake. It's not like kind of turn-based, kind of hack and slash. It is completely hack and slash. Which is, I think, what we've seen stuff like that before, right? Wasn't like 15 was like primarily just hack and slash. Maybe I'm making that up. But so it is essentially just you fight a big boss until it dies. The end. There is not really menuing. There is not really things. Hit a thing till it dies.
I mean, and then, like, we watched, like, a couple of cutscenes, even, and the cutscenes feel so forced.
If you're disjointed, absolutely.
It doesn't feel like it's Final Fantasy. It feels like it doesn't feel like it's Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, or anything. It feels like this belongs somewhere between like 10 and 15.
And you, everybody at home's listening to this being like, wow, these guys hate freaking this game. You would be absolutely so far from the truth. We are both absolutely going to pick this game up.
Today, for us, right now, as of recording, is March 17th.
It comes out tomorrow.
It comes out March 18th.
I've never been more excited. We watched these trailers. I said, wow, this looks like an absolute train wreck. I cannot wait to play this.
Oh, God. Like, the whole time we were watching this, I'm just like, nah, I'm buying this.
But anyways, I wanted to go back. So essentially, they mentioned it was Souls-like, but you're in a big arena. There's a boss. You can dodge. There's no stamina, so you can dodge as much as you want.
Yeah, I think you said there was like infinite dodges, basically.
Yeah, you can boost around, dodge all the time. You can attack whenever you want. Again, no stamina. You have a bunch of like party members, standard Final Fantasy stuff, so they're going to attack this big boss with you as well. It seems a little different for Final Fantasy.
Square Enix is definitely reaching right now.
Shaking it up a little bit. Maybe, And if I'm being honest, maybe the time you want to try and shake stuff up is when you're doing like a remake of an old game that probably a lot of people haven't played. Because I know when 7 Remake came out, a lot of 7 diehards, of which there are many, many, many. A lot of people were definitely upset with some of the story changes that were...
In the first episode, I still remember I said that, I'm a Final Fantasy VII fanboy at heart. I wasn't exactly thrilled about the changes, but I don't feel like it subtracted from that story. So I feel like Square Enix at least knows what they're doing when they do change parts of stories.
I see the best part for me, played Final Fantasy VII Remake, haven't played the original, had a freaking amazing time. I'm like, this rules. So now just imagine when I go play actual 7, how even more blown away I'm going to be.
Yeah, I remember there was at one point, as a collector, I get lots and lots of the same type of game in. And I had probably about 3 or 4 copies during that time of Final Fantasy VII on the PS1. Part of reselling games, and I'm sure you as a manager of a game store also do this, is playtesting them. Mm-hmm. And every time I playtested a Final Fantasy VII game, I got sucked into it.
Absolutely.
And like at that time as well, I was replaying the remake, so I was comparing them side by side essentially in my head.
Yep.
And like it's surprising how much they actually kept. I think people kind of exaggerate a bit on like the crazy amount of changes.
There was probably a couple months every time I would drive to work and I'd get to a red light, I'd be like dun 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 dun. Oh, dude, the music in the game is amazing.
Oh yeah. I have complete faith that Square Enix has this one in the bag, and like it sounds crazy on paper, and the trailers look crazy. It's gonna be great. I want to believe it.
Yeah, pretty much sleeper hit of the year, calling it now. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin.
This is going to be the game that we talk about for a while.
Coming into this, I was like, maybe I'm going to talk about Lego Star Wars, how I'm, super excited for that. All my faith about Lego Star Wars has been transformed into faith for tomorrow. All the major reviewers are going to give like a 3 out of 10 to Stranger of Paradise, but here we called it first. It's recorded. It's on audio history. We're gonna give it a freaking 10 out of 10. We're gonna be like, this game was amazing.
Haven't even touched it yet. 10 out of 10.
Haven't even touched it. Barely seen any footage. 10 out of 10. Absolutely.
Going on to another new game coming out that I'm pumped about.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Jotaro.
Yes, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. Now, All-Star Battle was on the PS3.
Yes, I have played it a little bit.
I have not, so please tell me about your experience there.
So yes, I played I don't think this will affect my I'll state it for pure transparency. I played the European version on my American PS3.
How dare you go outside this region?
The Peggy 17 rated game. No, it was... I feel like a lot of anime fighters kind of blend together. I think, the Naruto had 900 bazillion games that all kind of blended together in some ways. Same with I played a ton of the Dragon Ball stuff growing up too. Very much feels like kind of standard anime fighter, but the art style really, I feel like, lends itself to this kind of fantastical fighting that you do. The stands are fun. I've not seen the show. I know you haven't either. So there is a story mode. So
no, we're about to be crucified on the show again.
Dude, we rolled into this episode being like, no, we haven't seen JoJo, and yeah, we think Dark Souls suck. Boom! They're gonna murder us. We'll never make another episode of a podcast ever again. There's a story mode. They'll catch you up. You'll learn all about Jotaro and Dio and all of his best buddies. I played as this cool dude. My favorite guy was this guy. He had some kind of like firebird power. He was awesome. I liked him a lot.
I love that. Like, normally I can jump in and be like, oh, you mean that? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Literally not a clue. It was fun. We played it for a couple hours. We played through the story mode. They go through, Stardust Crusaders, all the important parts of the anime.
We both, while we were looking this up, you mentioned that there is a character you can play as that you weren't able to in that original game.
Jolene. I don't think, obviously that part of the anime just came out, I feel like, recently,
Jolene,
last year or something like that.
Yeah, Jolene's part came out on Netflix. I'm not sure if it released anywhere else, but I remember it definitely being on Netflix. Now, I am a big, big anime fan. I have many, many hours of watched anime. I have a mal and everything, which I may or may not release to the public here. I follow a lot of anime YouTubers that do that. It's, people like Giguk and CDog VA, the Anime Man, Mr. Joy, who has another separate channel where he talks about anime. He has two channels. That's how much anime that guy goes through, where he basically never watched an anime, but that's a whole subject. I love anime games. I know you were saying that, the fighting games tend to kind of meld together. I very much kind of feel the same way, but don't. Mm-hmm. Dragon Ball Z, I feel, is its own unique thing.
They're kind of their own. See, like, I agree on that. That, I played a bunch of the Dragon Ball ones, and there are, from one to the next, it's going to be way different. And I haven't played every single Naruto game. I haven't played every, I think I own Jump Force. Jump Force went to like $2, and I was like, I'll spend $2 on Jump Force, right? But there's a lot of that stuff I haven't played. So absolutely, I have belief that there's going to be differences in things that I have not seen.
But I also agree in the way that those of the same series tend to meld together. Like, I can't tell you what the difference between Dragon Ball Z Budokai and Budokai 2 is, let alone Tenkaichi and Tenkaichi 3. Like, in my mind, they just add more stuff.
See, and it's all really granular, I feel like, because it was like some of the Dragon Ball Z games, when you did a super attack, the super attack, you had to like rotate the stick. It was like a you versus the other computer, and you had to rotate the stick, and whoever rotated the stick faster won the super attack, or So there's
rip GameCube controllers.
Exactly, right. There was stuff like that where it's like, and you could play as more characters, and you could unlock outfits and moves, and I had Infinite World, which was an amazing game. I think on 360, maybe it was PS2. I don't remember, but it had this like amazing story mode where you got to play through all the story mode. I mean, even like the GT stuff was included. So that's what I like about anime games. 9 times out of 10, if you have never seen the show, there's a story mode that'll take you through it. You don't have to. You can skip 900 episodes of Dragon Ball Z, go play Infinite World, play through the story mode. They'll get you the story beats.
And, like, I was a big, big fan of the Naruto games, and that's the one thing I really enjoyed about those, was that by the time I started playing them, I had already seen all of the anime. Mm. It was nice to go back and go into their story mode to unlock all the characters and stuff, but then them really go into detail about, like, the important parts of what happened.
Yeah, here's what happened, exactly.
For those of you who know Naruto, they talk about in Naruto Storm 4, which is the latest release for the Storm series. I think they're on like Road to Boruto now, I think is the newest one in the series. But they talked about, the Great Ninja War that, started and the origins of it, which they didn't have to show the origin, but like it now made the rest of it seem much more grandeur. And I feel like fighting games like that really focus on the story and their story modes give out like 10 times more than those that are just like, here are 2 fighters, go fight.
Yeah, okay, so now that's what I was going to mention is the game makes you, as I continue to say this throughout our series, the game makes you feel like Spider-Man. They're going to say, here's the part in the show, you go through the story, cutscene, here's the part where Jotaro fights Dio. And then they're like, okay, you know the part where Jotaro fights Dio. You're Jotaro. Now you fight Dio. And you're like, whoa, I'm going to fight Dio. And so I feel like a lot of anime fighting games have that kind of sweet respect where it's like, whoa, this is the first time Goku ever fought Vegeta. They're like, yeah, isn't that cool? Now you're Goku. You fight Vegeta. And you're like, whoa, I get to fight Vegeta. How cool is that? So there is this kind of like, almost like power fantasy in a lot of these games where it's like, I get to be my favorite character and I get to beat the crap out of the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, the famous argument on the internet is who can beat Goku from Dragon Ball Z. And, the moment that...
The answer is me. I could beat Goku.
I mean, you feel like Spider-Man after all.
Rip to him, I'm just built different. So
it's just built different.
Just sorry, Goku, I'm just built different.
But going back to that, it's the nostalgia of like, for most people going back, seeing that first fight, getting amped about it, and then you're placed in Goku's shoes, and you're like, holy crap, I am so ready to just, beat the living crap out of Vegeta.
Yep.
Or the one I remember doing a lot was Cell.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Ball Z, Kai, I think is what the arc was with Cell. And I remember watching that as a kid when it was airing on Toonami of all things.
Yep. Like Rock Lee fighting Gaara, stuff like that, where you're like, yeah, I get to relive that sweet moment that you saw in the show, so many years
those
ago.
Great moments that everyone talks about over and over again, and then being able to actually do that in the game makes it so, so sweet.
Yeah, but yeah, that's 2 hot releases, and that's coming out early fall, is the All-Star Battle R is what it's called. So like we said, it is a kind of updated version. They said over 50 playable characters, which is like, that's huge for a fighting game, right?
Yeah,
like
giant.
50 different, characters with different moves and stuff. And I was going to say, I do remember also, at least I think, you could unlock like hats and outfits and stuff, and you could like customize their outfits and add little stuff like that, which I know.
I love that.
Yeah, a lot. I've seen other anime fighting games.
My Hero.
That's what I was just about to say. My Hero did that. Yep. But yeah, very much looking forward to that. JoJo's All-Star Battle R. Very exciting.
All right, let's get into the big boy news.
Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. That's all that's on my mind. No, we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes here. And this was announced mid-February. I think it's a bit. We're a little late on the scene here. Encyclopedia Brown's about to lose this one. But it is that the 3DS and Wii U eShop are closing officially. Nintendo released an announcement that they are officially closing March of next year.
So that means over 1,000 games.
Digital-only titles.
Yeah, digital-only titles are going to be lost.
Yep. So we're talking, 600, over 600 on 3DS, over 300 on Wii U, that you just want, there are no physical copies in America. And now, in Japan, some of these things will exist, like physical Japanese copies.
Yeah, you brought up the point of the Phoenix Wright games.
So Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, I believe, anyways, is one of the last... I think it potentially was the last 3DS Phoenix Wright game. There was no physical copy of that in America. You can get it digitally on your DS, on your 3DS, but they did not release a physical cart that you can buy. I can't go buy this game anywhere other than digitally on my 3DS. Now, again, like I said, they made a Japanese copy. These games came out in Japan, and I think there's a ton more than this, but I think Phoenix Wright has potentially 2. It's either Phoenix Wright or Professor Layton has some too. I think, anyways, that physical copies came out in Japan. The only way you could get an English, like, translated copy is a digital copy on the eShop. If you want to pull up the thread, I've got a thread here. We're going to go through this a little bit.
Yeah, we apologize going forward into our podcast. We're going to be, Joe Rogan, experience type of, hey, go look that up.
Exactly. Pull it up. No, we have some links here. So I've got I'm just going to read off a little bit of the press release here. So It says, this is on Nintendo's website. This is publicly available knowledge. I didn't hack in like I'm a secret hacker.
No insider knowledge here?
Yeah, my uncle works at Nintendo, so this is how I got this press release. The website says, as of late March 2023, it will no longer be possible to make purchases in the Nintendo eShop for the Wii U system and the 3DS family of systems.
Which, just stating that alone, I'm so surprised that when they originally closed the Wii eShop, that they didn't just do the Wii U eShop with it.
It says it will no longer be possible to download free content, including game demos. Furthermore, as this date draws closer, related services will cease to function. As of May 23rd of this year, 2022, it will no longer be possible to use a credit card to add funds to an account in the eShop on Wii U or the 3DS family systems. So if you want to buy something with your credit card on the eShop for 3DS or Wii U, you need to do that before May 23rd. Just period. Well, you say, well, that makes no sense. How am I going to buy things if they won't let me use my credit card? Now, I've done a little research into this. It is kind of complicated. If you have gift cards, you can use gift cards. Or if you have a Switch, so if you have a 3DS, a Wii U, and a Switch, you can link your Nintendo ID. Through the Switch, you can add funds to your account, and then you can pay for things on the 3DS and Wii U. You can buy stuff through your account, which is really complicated and dumb, but...
It sounds like it'd just be a nightmare to try to put together.
Doesn't it sound like a nightmare? But also, doesn't sound like Nintendo at the end of the day to make things as complicated as possible. And it also says, as of August 29th of this year, 2022, it will no longer be possible to use an eShop card to add funds to an account in the eShop or on the Wii U or the 3DS family systems, although you can still redeem download codes until March 2023. So if you have a download code, that will cease being viable when they shut down the eShop. But like I said, if you want to buy something with a credit card, that ends May of this year, late May. And then if you want to buy an eShop card and then use an eShop card to buy stuff, that ends in August of this year.
And then looking even further down, it goes even after late March of 2023, for the foreseeable future, which means going forward no matter what, until they say otherwise, it will be possible to re-download games and DLC and receive software updates and enjoy online play on the Wii U.
So if you own something, great news. You own it, period. You can re-download it, all that fun stuff. You just won't be able to buy stuff starting end of March next year. And there's plenty of good things to like. All the Pokemon games, they re-released all those. They're like $10 a piece.
Yeah, I downloaded Pokemon Blue on my 3DS.
Yep, red, blue, yellow, crystal, gold, silver. Pull up I've got a list here. So this is from Cheap Ass Gamer on Twitter. I highly recommend following them if you're looking for just good gaming deals. They post pretty much daily about deals on Amazon, Epic Games, consoles, anything you could want, even merch stuff like statues and stuff. They usually post when there's a good deal going on. And so they're at Video Game Deals on Twitter. They posted, this from February 15th. They posted a list of expensive 3DS and Wii U games you might want at normal price digitally. And so these are games that if you wanted to buy a physical copy, you might be looking at anywhere from $90 to $100, but on the eShop you can buy it for $40. Or, I think a decent amount of stuff has been going on sale pretty heavily, since they announced this. So we're going to list off some things. Probably a good time. You should keep an eye out.
Yeah, probably some of our favorite games.
Yeah, there's some good stuff on here for sure. Okay, so we're going to look at the top one. Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, $30. Physically, $90 to $150. I have this game.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't have
it. It's like a disc only copy though. It's not complete. Man, I wish. But
my heart breaks for you.
Yeah, thank you. My wife loves. I always get her the Phoenix Wright stuff. She always really likes that stuff. Number 2.
Going into one of my favorite games are the Shin Megami Tensei games. This is for Apocalypse for $30 again. On eBay, physical copy, anywhere between $70 and $80.
Do you own this?
I do own this.
Oh, there you go.
I'm a big fan of the Shin Megami Tensei games.
Is that the one where they go Persona?
No, that'd be the Persona games.
Oh,
thank you.
Gotcha. This is the one where they go Shin Megami Tensei.
Going into number 3 here that they've listed is Fire Emblem Fates Revolution. $20.
Revelation.
Revelation? Oh, it is Revelation.
Yeah, so it's DLC. It's $20. Now, here's the thing about this one. The only way physically you could get this DLC was on the special edition of Fates. And special editions like anywhere from $200 to $500,
which is crazy.
I don't have that. I know a guy who does though. Yeah, it was like you had to get the special edition that had the DLC on cart, which is like nuts. But yeah, you can get that on the eShop.
Another really cool game that have been meaning to play is Dragon Quest VIII: Journey of the Cursed King. $40.
Yep, and on eBay we're looking 60 to 90, somewhere in that range.
Yep, another crazy price game.
Yeah, and I want to say that's the other thing you should keep an eye out for, because I was looking at a bunch of lists. You should just be looking at AAA titles. If you really want to play, like any of the Marios, Smash Brothers, any of the Zeldas they released on 3DS, you should be keeping an eye on the eShop, because these games that a decent amount of these might be kind of cheap. But you should keep an eye out because, like I said, a ton of stuff has been going on sale pretty consistently since they announced this.
Now, I do want to point out for Dragon Quest here, Dragon Quest VIII, this is available on the PS2 as well, which I believe it's much cheaper. If we just go to price charting right now.
Exciting podcasting. We're searching, we're typing. PS2, $20.
$20 for the loose, or if you want to find it complete, $30, which is great. I mean, why, if you don't get a chance to download on your 3DS, which is nice to have that portability, honestly, but just another great option for you to choose.
On to another one. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers.
Woo!
Didn't they just announce there was some new Soul Hackers news?
I think they're
like
either remaking it or they're adding to the series again.
Something like that. Yes.
Anyways, on 3DS, $20. You want to find this on eBay though? $40 to $90. Now this is one of the few Shin Megami Tensei games I don't own.
Well, keep an eye out. $40.
I know.
$40.
If I find it for $40, you best believe I'm buying that.
Monster Hunter Stories, $40. eBay, anywhere from $40 to $65.
Now, important note here is you can get this on your phone. Google and Apple, both $4.99.
And that's, everybody knows, and I've been saying it for years.
Mobile gaming is the future.
Mobile gaming is the future. And we're all playing Genshin Impact on our phones, and that's what the future looks like. I'm going to be playing Stranger of Paradise on my Google Stadia on my phone, and it's going to be awesome.
Oh my god.
Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure on 3DS, $20. eBay at $90. This looks like one of those games that did not sell well, and now it's really expensive.
I've never heard of this.
Some weird, it's one of those weird. It's kind of like Elite Beat Agents, I think, something along those lines.
Yeah, Elite Beat Agents.
Some kind of like like rhythm game. Super Mario Advance. Now this is our first Wii U one, finally. Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3 on the Wii U, $7 via eShop. And not only that, it has all the GBA e-reader levels, the e-reader Mario cards, the e-reader, the link cable, and the game are expensive. So you get to skip all the e-reader, the cable, all that stuff.
So this doesn't have a physical version for the Wii U. This, you can get this
virtual console.
Only on virtual console. But if you did want a quote-unquote hard copy, you would have to get a Game Boy Advance copy. Now, I've been looking into e-reader stuff because I was like, I want to kind of collect that. That sounds fun. Do you know how hard it is to find e-reader stuff?
Now, this is what I was going to say. As a person who's been looking into buying Amiibo cards, just cut your losses. just it's not like Amiibo cards. I've seen some come through at work. You look online at some of these Amiibo cards. It's like one single Amiibo card people are trying to huck online for $50. I'm like, $50 for a freaking Amiibo card? And there's a million. Somebody's you can go on eBay and buy a full set for $30 of everything that somebody's made copies and blah blah blah. But if you want the legitimate real deal, that stuff's tough to find. I cannot imagine trying to find e-reader like cards from like 2008.
So for those of us listening that don't know what e-reader cards are, they are cards that have a blue edge with it's a yellow edge, I'm sorry, with blue lines on it in a certain pattern, and you slide it through an e-reader which plugged into the console itself, a Game Boy Advance plugged into the Game Boy Advance. It's huge. It's like just giant.
It looks like a credit card reader.
It looks like a credit card reader. There you go. And you would slide that edge through the card reader, and then it would add that information onto the console.
Sometimes levels, extra little things.
Or there were even games you could just get that way. And Super Mario Advance 4 was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is that to get that game, you had to slide 6 cards. These cards came in, like, trading card game packs, and you had to buy pack after pack after pack to try to get the cards.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, these cards are excruciatingly just awful to find and to pay for, because they're expensive now.
Yep. And even, just while we're on the topic here, virtual console stuff, I had a Wii U. I think one of the first things I did was buy Mario 64 on my Wii U. And I just played Mario 64 and had a great time. So that's something I don't think a lot of it's on this list. Some of it for sure is, but we're not just losing modern games, Shin Megami Tenseis and what have you. We're also losing a ton of virtual console stuff. And, we don't really have virtual console on the Switch. We have, like, the Switch Online. They're bringing NES games, SNES, 64, and even Genesis games at this point. We have some of that stuff, which is fine and dandy. But you can't buy these games. I can't buy these Game Boy Advance games and play them on my Switch. I wish I could. If they opened up, and everybody always says this, right? Welcome to the world of Nintendo. If they opened up their old library and if they brought virtual console to the Switch and just said, here's 300 old games you could buy, just like the Wii, you can buy all these freaking NES games that nobody's ever heard of, whatever, right? They would sell. Absolutely, they would sell.
So, I know a guy that does PSP hacks.
Mm-hmm.
And
shady backworld.
Yeah, shady backworld of gaming. Don't do it, kids. You wouldn't download a car.
Exactly.
But, he showed me that, he has like 1,000 Game Boy games. And he was like, do you know how much space that is? And I go, nah, man. How much is it?
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Like 4 gigs?
Not even.
Just like no
Guess
space.
again. Just guess again for the fun of it.
1 gig?
We're talking 500 megabytes.
Oh my god.
Now, the absurdity.
1,000 games.
I think it was like somewhere between 500 to 800.
Sure.
Right. It was sub gig.
Right.
And I'm like, the absurdity for Nintendo to hold on to that and not just be like, here you go.
Yeah, just like less than 1 gig is insane. Let's get
moving on.
Now these, dude, you got to pick these up. I saw this on this list. I was like, what an amazing deal for 2 amazing games. On the 3DS, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, $6 a piece. Are you kidding me? That's $12. Each cartridge, probably like $45 a piece. I think that's what my store sells them for.
Yeah.
So $45 a piece.
For just the cart, not even complete in box here.
Yeah, that's just a loose cartridge. You can have these for $12. These games are amazing. I used to try and...
It's a Zelda game. Like, almost every single Zelda game ever made has been worthy of play.
I used to try and speedrun these with a buddy of mine. We would do speedrun races.
Watching too much summoning salt on YouTube,
I would play Seasons and he would play Ages, that's not how a race is supposed to work. You're playing completely, like, different games. But yeah.
That's so good.
Here it is. I just talked about it. Dual Destinies, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. $30, again, does not exist on cartridge. The only way you can get this Phoenix Wright game is digitally.
Now, you can, once again, get it on Google and Apple Play. What is it? It's mobile gaming is the future.
The future of Nintendo emulation is on your phone, and I feel like it's been that way for a while. All the Box Boy games, $5 a piece on 3DS. What's Box Boy? Well, he's not just like a $700 amiibo. He comes from a series of games as well. Are you like, man, I want to collect amiibo at some point in the future? That's pretty much the correct answer.
I have amiibos that I really like, but the one I have is Wolf Link, and that's the most notable one I have. And I was looking at prices of that thing, and
he's pretty spendy.
It's anywhere. First off, it depends on condition because these are handled by children. Let's be honest.
I just priced one today for $50.
I was gonna say they're somewhere between $30 and $50. I think I bought mine at like $18, and even that was pushing it.
I see amiibos so often. I used to have a lot more. I always want to buy them. I'm like, man, they look so good. Half the time, I just don't care.
I have a couple sealed ones.
I get the Animal Crossing and the cards and stuff because my wife loves Animal Crossing. I don't play Animal Crossing. It's not really my thing. I have a almost complete set of the Breath of the Wild, all the Zelda ones. So we're talking like
that's worthy of being jealous over.
Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess and all those ones. I have those because I wanted to get all the outfits, but you can only scan them once a day, and I was like, this is going to take me forever to get the outfits. But okay, we're moving on. Wind Waker HD, $20. And now it says, can you pull up price chart for me? It says Wind Waker HD is $40 on disc. I would like to fact check that. Right. This is about a month old again. This thread's a bit old, but I feel like this game is insane expensive on Wii U. Just type in Wind Waker HD.
All right, so Wii U Wind Waker HD, $30.
Okay, it's not too bad. Sure, $40. Maybe I'm thinking
$45 if you want a complete in box.
I might be thinking of Twilight Princess is like the insane,
Twilight. I think Twilight's really expensive.
Insane expensive one.
But I mean, like, still, I have it on GameCube, and if we look up the GameCube one here real fast.
I mean, just another worthwhile play. If you haven't played Wind Waker, I had it on my Wii U when I still had it. Rest in peace. Completely worthwhile game. And also, they don't mention this. Maybe they don't. The HD, they make the map smaller, so it's like not the worst to travel through. The map is like, you can go from one island to the next, and instead of taking like an hour, whatever, like 30 minutes of sailing, you'll go from one island to the next in like 10 minutes.
The HD remake really saves time for the consumer.
Yeah, would highly recommend if you care about playing it and are short on time.
Looking at the GameCube one, just for reference though, it's, for complete in box, you're looking at $70.
Yeah, if you can find it, good luck.
Yeah, if you can find it.
In good shape, good luck.
Once again, all these, we're talking about Nintendo here. Almost everything we talk about will be handled by a child before you get to handle it.
My favorite thing about Wind Waker is the 15-minute unskippable cutscene in the beginning. Classic stuff.
All right, here we are. Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD.
$50. It'll run you 70 to 100 online. So I was right. This is the one I was thinking of that's insane expensive. Twilight Princess HD. Yeah, it is... pretty. I mean, and that's the thing on some of these is instead of having to buy a $100 physical copy, you can get this cheap copy that'll just be available until March of next year.
All right, so we got a GameCube copy here because a lot of these were originally for the GameCube, ported to the Wii U. For a complete in box on the GameCube for Twilight Princess, it's $110.
Even a loose disc is $86.
And if you're looking, at complete in box for the HD version, $92
or $72 loose, which is still insane. Some of the Wii U games, and especially I will mention this: if you were like, I'm gonna go for a full Wii U collection, the time to start that was about a year ago, because now we saw this with
a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
We saw it with PS3 when that happened earlier. Was last year, right? PS3 said, hey, we're shutting down the PS3 eShop. Instantly, every single PS3 game shot up, freaking doubled in value.
The one I remember was a game called Puppeteer. Before they announced it, it was like a $5 game.
I bought my copy for $14. Yeah, like a $70 game now. Asura's Wrath I bought for like $15. Like $70 game.
3D Game Heroes, $20 game. It's now so many
PS3 games.
80 and 100.
There's so many PS3 games I wish I had bought.
But that's why we're talking about this right now for the Nintendo shop is get it now before things just shoot up in price.
Right. So we're talking about this Wind Waker is $70 to $100. Twilight Princess. Sorry, not Wind Waker. $70 to $100 if you wanted a copy. Now imagine next year when they shut the eShop down and the only way you can get the game is physically. If you don't have it digitally on your Wii U, well now the only way to get it is this physical copy. Well, suddenly that $70 to $100 game starts to become $150 for a loose disc. It is absolutely, like I said, what happened with PS3. These games just shot up in price. The moment somebody mentioned, hey, these won't be available anymore, the only way you can get them is physically, they shot up way in price. So you're going to see a lot of this where, like...
And that's usually the way we see it. It's a stepping stone process where they're usually a decent price, because I think Wind Waker HD before this was like $30.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing it kind of floating around for that. They announced this. Now we're at 50.
Mm-hmm.
And now when they announce, hey, shop's closed, guys, can't get it anymore, I guarantee you that's going to be a like an $80 game.
Absolutely, $80 game. Well, and that's, yeah. If you want to buy any of these games physically, as soon as possible is the answer. When should I buy these games? Now. Go out. If you want these things physically, go out and get them, because they're only just going to continue going up in price. I've always said, anytime a bunch of like DS games come in complete, even if it's like some $4 game, I'll buy some like crappy $3 DS game complete, because I know in freaking 35 years, nobody, on the brink of humanity's existence, there will be no more complete DS games because some child like ripped all their copies of this $3 game.
Yeah, I mean,
half,
like,
right?
I look at my collection, and I'm nearing 2,500 physical copies between everything, and like. I look at some of them, like, you can tell a kid had this, and others I'm like, how did no one touch this?
Yep. Yeah, I would recommend hunting. If you care about the physical stuff, hunt for it now.
Hunt now.
So yeah, now they're talking. We're gonna move on here. So Pokemon Crystal, $10. This is like $100 game.
Now
Crystal's really expensive.
I have my original childhood copy of this. And I'm sorry to say, I was a bad child. I tore my label.
Oh, no.
Like, not completely off, but still enough that it matters a lot.
Yep.
But, I mean, like, I was looking lately into re-getting the new one.
Yep.
And I was shocked by the price. Because I knew Pokemon games are expensive. But for Crystal, I was like, can't be that bad. There's Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes. That's got to, tame it down.
Incorrect.
Very incorrect. We're looking between 70 to 110.
And that is probably the most commented game I hear about, is people go, wow, Pokemon games are expensive. They have just gone up. And it's pretty much been that's kind of been the trend for the past year and a half, 2 years. I mean, pretty much since COVID has been a thing, we've seen these prices steadily increase. So,
looking at price charting here, we're looking at $90 for the loose copy, or $535 for a complete in-box one.
I mean, some of that makes sense, though, because especially when you hit Game Boy and stuff like that, complete copies just don't exist.
I was a bad kid. I threw every single, box I had out.
Oh, yeah. I had a bunch of loose, DS games and PSP games when I was a kid, absolutely.
And that's why I said, these items that, if you're a collector and you're searching for that physical copy, these items are going to be held by a child before they're held by you. Almost guarantee. Anything old, pre even DS now, pre 3DS, you're going to have to deal with not finding that box, because that box is gone.
And that's our list we went through there. But like I said, there's over 1,000 digital only titles that are going to be gone. And a lot of the stuff we listed has physical copies, right?
Yeah, and we really only talked about kind of the big name stuff.
Absolutely, there's going to be
hard
so much
to find stuff.
There's going to be so much indie stuff just gone to time when these shops close, when things are removed. There's going to be some stuff where it's probably who cares, Mahjong Simulator 95, and it's a puzzle matching game. 15 of those are gone. Okay, well, is the world any worse for it? Probably not. But there's going to be a bunch of hidden gems in there for sure that are just going to disappear.
Now, I'm not the biggest fan of digital games. I'm much more about the physical collection.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't argue with people that are on a budget that need to buy, or not need to buy, but want to buy these games really badly because they want to play them.
Yep.
Go buy them right now. I there's no other way I can stress that.
Pokemon Red, our store sells that for $75. You can go buy it for $10 and have it on your eShop, on your 3DS. You can play it. You can name your Charmander, name him like Farts, and it'll be really funny for $10. You literally, a Pokemon game, name brand Pokemon game, $10. Go. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Turn the podcast
Now,
off. Go play that.
I know that we're gonna have some people that might argue with the fact of, they probably weren't listening too close in the beginning there. Well, what do I do when my 3DS dies? What happens when I can't recover my memory, or I dropped in a puddle, or I spilled my Mountain Dew on it?
You know what the answer is?
Re-download it.
Re-download it. That's not what I was going to say.
For the foreseeable future, it is re-downloadable.
I was going to say, torch the establishment, burn it to the ground, and let's restart. We'll go to like some kind of when the world stood still, no electricity, and then if you can't have it, nobody else should.
There you go.
That's what I think. That's my hot take.
No. But on a serious note, Nintendo once again restate.
They said you can re-download it.
They said you can re-download it.
Quote, for the foreseeable future. Who knows what that means?
We'll be back tomorrow with it's been the foreseeable future.
Exactly. It'll be so they're going to close it down in March of next year, and then April of next year is when they're going to say, "Hey, you can't re-download it anymore." Be a classic Nintendo move. I actually saw an article. I didn't read a lot about it. I did see an article today that was talking about how this company was going to release this game on 3DS.
Oh no!
And then they decided not to because obviously they're shutting down the eShop, so I think they were going to release this game digitally on the 3DS.
Oh my god, could you... Alright,
not going to do it.
Not everything's about, like, the money value-wise of things, but imagine it's another, like, Silent Hill PT...
Oh my gosh.
Thing where it's like, we released this on this dying console, it's download only, you have literally, like, a month to download this.
If you really want to, like, play it safe, you should just start buying SD cards. Download every demo that's available on the 3DS eShop just to really grandfather yourself in. And then now when they close the eShop, you can sell all. I've got a 4 gig SD card with like 25 demos on it. Boom, start selling those off like $10 a piece. There you go. Whoever's going to be out there doing that, Strandy, if you're listening, you're welcome. You just made like $500 selling 3DS demos on SD cards.
Alrighty, so I think we need to wrap up there. It's been great talking about this. We'll eventually do an episode on game collecting in general.
We'll eventually do an episode on Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, the greatest game to come out in 2022. Calling it now. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. We will do an episode about gaming on a budget. We'll do an episode about game collecting.
We're going to do an episode on Stranger of Paradise.
Absolutely. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. I don't call it now. We're going to I don't care if we get it and play through it together and it takes us 4 months to play through it. We're both going to beat Stranger of Paradise. Absolutely correct. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Like usual, we'll put all the relevant links, articles, stuff that we're reading off here. We'll drop those links down below. And if you have any other questions, we'll drop our email down there. Feel free to hit us up with any questions, stuff you want us to talk about, what you think about the trailers for Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise.
Crucify us for not liking Souls games.
Crucify us for not watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And let us know how we're driving. But yeah, that'll be it for us tonight. I'm Josh.
I'm Alex.
Save Point, out.